Welcome to The Explainer. Have you ever walked into a law firm and just felt a certain vibe before anyone even said hello? Well, today, we're breaking down exactly how the traditional lawyer aesthetic is evolving to completely shape client perception, because the second you walk through those doors, the space is already telling you a story about who works there. Okay, let's dive right into this by asking a really simple question about your own workspace. What is it saying about you? Because every single visual element in a law office communicates a highly specific identity. It's not just interior design, folks, it's visual branding. It's about making absolutely sure your clients see you exactly how you want to be seen. To understand this evolution, we're going to follow a pretty clear roadmap for this explainer. We'll start with the science of visual branding, move into traditional legal heritage, check out the modern approachable lawyer, and wrap up with animal advocates.
All right, part 1, visual branding science. Let's look at the actual hard data behind why all this office decor even matters in the first place.
Here is the really crucial point. We are incredibly visually dominant creatures. Words just take time to process, right? But an image, boom, it hits us instantly. In fact, we remember a staggering 80% of what we see compared to just 20% of what we hear or read. Visuals totally dominates our perception, making visuals the absolute ultimate shortcut for conveying an identity.
And this brilliantly shows how visual language actually evolves. You kind of have to update a brand identity slowly over time with these really subtle modern tweaks. It keeps things feeling fresh and contemporary without, alienating those loyal clients who trust what they already know. The legal profession does the exact same thing with its aesthetic, slowly updating classic imagery so it feels modern, but is still fundamentally recognizable as a place of law and order.
This science literally drills down to the absolute smallest details. Think about the font on a lawyer's door, a desk nameplate, or even their official stationery. It carries massive psychological weight. A bold, structured sans serif font, like Helvetica, directly screams order and logic to a client. But if a lawyer swaps that out for a flamboyant script or warmer, rounder shapes, it completely shifts the perception. It dials up the brand warmth and implies a much more free-spirited, approachable nature.
Moving right into Section 2, Traditional Heritage. Let's see how this visual science plays out with the most classic elements of a law office.
Notice how these traditional items, things you'd easily find trending on marketplaces like Etsy, utilize symbolic visuals. You've got Lady Justice canvas art, vintage 1878 law tree prints, heavy metal bookends, personalized leather desk mats. These aren't just room fillers. They're incredibly strategic. They're designed to evoke a hardwired sense of heritage, a little nostalgia, and just immense trust.
We call these things traditional symbols, and they basically act as mental shortcuts. When a client sees the scales of justice or a gavel, your brain immediately gathers these massive, heavy concepts of law, order, and history into one easily processed snapshot. It delivers this multidimensional impression of total authority and competence before the lawyer even opens their mouth. It literally says to the client, "We are serious and we are capable." But the aesthetic is definitely shifting right now. And that brings us to Section 3, the modern approachable lawyer, where we see attorneys intentionally tossing out that strict formality. Visual branding research points out a real risk in going too traditional. If you strictly use serious, dark browns, heavy leathers, and ultra-minimalist designs, well, you might actually kill your brand's approachability. It can make a firm feel totally intimidating. So that's driving a lot of modern attorneys to lean into a more down-to-earth, community-focused vibe that basically says, yes, we are highly responsible, but hey, we're also fun and very approachable.
And this plays out hilariously in the real world. Just take this incredibly popular Etsy candle marketed straight to lawyers. It proudly declares it smells like the tears of opposing counsel. I mean, that is just brilliant modern visual branding. Injecting that kind of edgy, self-aware humor right onto an office desk or a bookshelf completely breaks the ice and shatters that stuffy lawyer stereotype. Honestly, a quick search for the modern lawyer aesthetic brings up an absolute goldmine of these deeply humorous, self-aware items. We're talking allegedly ballpoint pens, born to argue sweatshirts, even funny frog and goose lawyer apparel, or mugs that literally say, "I'm not arguing, I'm just explaining why I'm right." These aren't just jokes, they humanize the attorney. They instantly signal that the person sitting across from you has a sense of humor, creating this immediate, relatable connection that a dusty old law patent just can't pull off. This intense desire for relatability perfectly tees up our final section, where the modern legal aesthetic gets a bit furry.
Believe it or not, there is a fascinating straight historical line here. It literally starts way back with actual historical criminal proceedings against animals, moves right through those classic vintage paintings of dogs in courtrooms acting as judges, and finally arrives at today's booming aesthetic. Now we're seeing law offices decked out in advocat pun prints, custom pet portraits in legal robes, and these elaborate narrative-driven pet court parodies. So why is this spreading like wildfire in law firms? Well, it's the comedy of mock seriousness. The reason a custom portrait of a lawyer's golden retriever or a story about a husky arguing with the court works so beautifully in a legal setting is the sharp contrast. You're taking familiar, silly, everyday dog behavior and treating it with absolute, polished legal authority. It basically tells the client, we understand the gravity of the law, for sure, but we choose to have fun with it. Co-opting this whole legal framework just creates such an incredibly engaging office aesthetic. And the parody really lands hardest when it has one paw in reality, you know? It's not just a dog being bad. It's highly specific charges like premeditated sandwich theft. It's presenting concrete evidence like muddy paw prints or torn stuffing. It's hearing from the defense where a mixed breed defendant tries to charm the jury with a classic head tilt. The absolute sweet spot for this aesthetic is what's known as polished nonsense. It's using the booming, authoritative voice of the law and then letting typical pet behavior completely undercut the whole thing. Whether it's a Bichon Frise caught up in a bathroom tissue investigation or a Dachshund accused of unauthorized backyard excavation, incorporating this super specific breed-accurate humor creates a uniquely charming brand identity that clients instantly warm up to.
I'll leave you with this final, provocative thought for our explainer today. Look at how all these elements combine. By blending centuries of serious, heavy tradition, the scales, the gavels, the formal fonts, with candles that smell like opposing counsel's tears, and bespoke paintings of dogs in judicial robes, has the legal profession accidentally created the perfect modern brand identity. Because as the workspace aesthetic evolves, maybe the absolute most effective way to convey real authority right now is simply showing your clients that you have the confidence not to take yourself too seriously.